IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship season has found its way to Lexington, Ohio, and the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course for the Acura Sports Car Challenge. It's time for Support Series racing with the IMSA Prototype Challenge cars, and this is round 5 of 6 right here on NBCSN. It's the IMSA Prototype Challenge round 5 from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course here in Lexington, Ohio. Hi folks, Lee Diffie with you. Brian Till and Jeremy Shaw will call the action today. Let's take a look at the weather. It's 77 degrees, clear skies, beautiful day, and an 11-mile-an-hour breeze from the northeast with no chance of rain. MG1 Motorsports and its drivers Naveen Rao and Matthew Bell lead the points after 4 rounds and roll off 4th. The 54 MLT Motorsports car and driver Dakota Dickerson sits second in the standings, 9 points behind. 47 Motorsports driver Joel Janko is joined again by Kyle Kirkwood. They are 15 points out of first, sitting in third. They'll have some work to do starting from the 12th spot. The brothers from Germantown, Tennessee, David and Keith Grant, will be the ones they chase today. They start from the pole in their 47 Motorsport number 40.
Just about halfway between Cleveland, Ohio and Columbus, Ohio sits the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. 13 turns, 2.4 miles, and it is a combination of everything. You've got to be brave. You've got to use your brain. It's narrow, it's tight, it's twisty. Strategy comes into play if you want to win at this racetrack. The keyhole, great passing area. So is turn 4. Then you get down into Thunder Valley and Madness, the areas in the back of the racetrack that are so challenging, into the carousel, and then back on to the front straightaway for a lap at Mid-Ohio. And these drivers in the IMSA Prototype Challenge category, well, they'll do it for an hour and 45 minutes. And a great lineup of Prototype Challenge cars and drivers with us today. Jeremy?
Row 7 of the grid is John Brownson in car number 74. Alongside him is Paul LaHaye in car number 86. Jerry Kraut will start car number 9 from the 6th place, alongside Stephen Thomas, another one-timer who is a career best 5th on the grid in car number 11. 4th position, his teammate is Naveen Rao in car number 64 for K2R Motorsports. Alongside him, his best performance so far for Performance Tech Motorsports in car number 6 is Dan Goldberg. Onto the front row of the grid, Dominic Cicero, an excellent qualifying run for MLT Motorsports in the Ligier chassis, car number 54, but on the pole position for the second time this season, one of the 2 Grant brothers driving for the 47 Motorsports team, the number 40 Norma M30 is David Grant on the pole position for today's IMSA Prototype Challenge, round 5 out of 6 this season.
Out of the keyhole, the cars will get lined up on that back straightaway. And Keith and David Grant on the pole in that number 40 looking, and man, they have stretched it out already. The green flag waves, and we're racing at Mid-Ohio. Second pole position for the Grant brothers so far this season, and a huge jump down to the end of the back straightaway through turn 4. The 6th, the red and blue, makes a great move around the outside, and you look at the 54, the red and black, which drops back. And you got to think Dakota Dickerson, Dominic Cicero, just being real smart, saying, just like we talked about, Dickerson is in the championship fight. I'm here to help him, and he's not going to be willing to push too hard and risk too much early on, Jeremy.
Boy, that was really tight, wasn't it, the first few corners there, as it always is here at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. They're starting uniquely here in North America on the back straightaway, but a really good getaway for David Grant. He leads this race. He's got a pretty good margin as they complete the first official lap of competition in this 1 hour and 40-minute race.
And that's a long way around this racetrack, and misidentified the 54 and the 64. It's the 64 championship leader Naveen Rao who's dropped back into that 4th position. And he looked like he was going to have a good start, kind of moved up and then thought better of it and said, hey, you know what? Right now, me and my teammate Matt Bell, we're leading this championship. Let's be smart about this. So David Grant's going to lead the first lap. A great run for that 47 Motorsports entry, and he's really pulled out here. Nice, beautiful weather. The track should have good temperature in it, Jeremy, and that means these tires are going to come up to temperature pretty quickly.
Yeah, I wasn't going to argue with there at the start. It was Dominic Cicero, though. There were 3 wide headed into turn 4 on that opening lap. But Cicero, he was in the middle, which is often a dodgy place to be, but he came out of it really well. He got a good run off the corner, was able to maintain the starting position in second place as he headed over that crest in turn 5. So it is Dominic Cicero in second place. Dan Goldberg with that bold move on the first corner tucks into third. Naveen Rao in fourth position. And Stephen Thomas, what a good job he has done. I mean, less than 18 months ago, he'd never even seen a racing car, let alone driven one. But he has made enormous strides this season, and that's running in the number 11 car in the 5th position for K2R Motorsports, right behind his teammate Naveen Rao.
Talk about consistency, Jeremy. You look at Matt Bell, Naveen Rao, you win races, that's great, but you really want to win the championship. And so often championships come with consistent finishes, and they've been the model of that, not out of the top 5 all season.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That is what it takes, isn't it, to win these championships at this level. I mean, it's tight out there. It's a long way to go. I said it's an hour and 40 minutes. It's an hour and 45 minutes this race. 5 more minutes of fun. But it's going to be exciting. I think coming down towards the end of the race, the picture could look very different to what we see right now. And it's certainly interesting. David Grant has got off to a flying start there in car number 40. He's edged out already 2.5 seconds over Dominic Cicero. And in third position, Dan Goldberg, coming down the hill into turn 6. He's another 3 seconds back already. So the first 3 really stretched out even in his early going. Here is our race leader, David Grant. He's being closed upon quite rapidly now, all of a sudden, by Dominic Cicero. He's got past the one lapped car of Paul LaHaye. I think right ahead of him on the racetrack now is that battle that we've just been watching between Bruce Hamilton and John Brownson. It's a battle for 12th and 13th. But those two are now about to go a lap down to our race leader. And David Grant's got to be careful here.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you think about David and Keith Grant, they want a victory, okay? They want to win. Yes, they're sitting in 4th in the championship. Yeah, the championship's still alive, but really what they want right now is a win. That would catapult them to another place altogether in their racing careers, and it would give them so much fire going forward into the last round of the championship. Speaking of the championship, well, right behind him, Dominic Cicero is carrying Dakota Dickerson's championships on his shoulders. He wants to get that 54 up there because he wants to get that car to the point to hand it over to his teammate. They all need to be careful with this lap traffic, but Dominic Cicero is going to see if he can use it perhaps as a pick. And, oh, man, that was close right there. Side by side, you want to be careful. John Brownson, I'm not sure. I think he knew that David Grant was there. I'm not sure that he knew that Dominic Cicero was coming through as well.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mr. Excitement there. John Brownson, he's always involved in some scrapes or another, but hats off to him there. He was absolutely paying attention. Just a massive amount of experience. Great guy, super enthusiast is Brownson. This is his 133rd start in what is now the IMSA Prototype Challenge. Just had several different names over the years, but massively experienced, former winner of the Masters category in both iterations of this championship. But he was certainly paying attention there. And that's always the danger for the second place car. When you're following the leader through the lap traffic, is the lap traffic going to see you as that second car? He can probably see the car that's immediately behind him. Is he going to see the second car? And fortunately for Cicero there, that John Brownson was paying attention. He was able to get through. So that battle for the lead is very much on now for first and second. And ditto right here for third and fourth between Dan Goldberg and Naveen Rao.
Well, you were talking about perhaps John Brownson not seeing Cicero or so on and so forth. I can guarantee you one thing. Dan Goldberg can see Naveen Rao right behind him. He's filling up the mirrors of that Performance Tech Motorsport Ligier and Rao in a Norma chassis. So we got 2 different manufacturers there. And you and I have talked about this over the past, and that is one of them seems stronger on cold tires and restarts. The other one seems to have better straight line speed. The Norma always seems to have a little edge in straight line speed.
It does, but the IMSA's done their best. They've given the Ligiers a little bit of a break. They're allowed to use a smaller rear gurney flap on the car. That's a little wicker, a little strip along the trailing edge of that rear wing. Gives the car a little less drag, makes it a little bit quicker on the straights to try and make those Ligiers competitive with the Normas. There's no doubt the Norma is the faster car given the original regulations of LMP3, but hats off to IMSA for trying to make a move, and in order to bring those teams that had bought the Ligier chassis not be too badly inconvenienced, and they've done a good job of that. And clearly now there seems to be little to choose between these two. We've got a Norma leading, but by 2 or 3 car lengths at the most over the Ligier of Dominic Cicero. Same in the battle for third and fourth. That's also Ligier against Norma.
Dominic Cicero bringing the fight to David Grant. This is the battle for the lead in Prototype Challenge from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course. IMSA Prototype Challenge, some of the coolest prototypes in the world right now, and great to see them racing here at IMSA. And now a problem for the 86, Paul LaHaye. That's over at the carousel on the way in, and I don't know if his problem started in the preceding corner.
He's being pursued here by the third and fourth place car. Okay, he just runs off the road. Okay, whoops! Somebody follows him in sympathy. Who was that?
I wonder if he just kind of checked his mirror real quickly. I believe it was the 6 of Dan Goldberg coming up to lap them, and I think maybe he just looked down to check his mirror real quick and didn't realize how quickly he had gotten to the corner. And he did a great job of keeping it off the tire wall, because you get out there in the grass and these slick tires, and look at this. Rao down, looking to the inside of Goldberg. Into turn 5, up over. The cars are going to get light here. Rao, can he hold it? He's got the inside line down, and side by side. This is difficult to do and get it done cleanly through here. Goldberg having nothing to do with that, Jeremy.
That was great racing between those two. I thought down there at turn 6, which is you go turn 4 is the end of the straight, then over the crest to the left is turn 5, downhill into turn 6. It looked to me like Naveen Rao was kind of washing wide there and pushing Goldberg, off the road, but he was able to keep his foot in it, and he comes out still in third position. That was great racing between those two. Joel Janko's really got a move on these last couple of laps. He's closed right in on Lance Wilsey in the Sean Creech Motorsports. That's another Ligier chassis in car number 33, and Joel Janko is on his tail, and right behind Janko are the 2 race leaders.
And this is really what Dominic Cicero needed. He's got a battle going on in front. It's not a single lap car. These cars are locked in battle, and that's really going to check up David Grant just a little bit. And perhaps this is where Cicero can make that move.
Yeah, and he's hugely experienced, Dominic, in all sorts of different classes of racing. David Grant, though, he's been around this sport for a fair amount of time as well, from Germantown in Tennessee. He and his brother had a lot of success in Formula Atlantic cars. And Joel Janko, he does not want to go a lap down. Joel Janko, I'm sorry, Joel, but that was just a crazy move. I mean, you don't fight the leaders when you're several seconds off the pace. That was just an uncalled for move for Joel Janko, and he's paid the price. Was he trying to? I guess he was just trying to block the race leader there to save from going a lap down. That's just.
Well, I don't know,
wrong.
Because I couldn't tell if he's trying to pass at the same time that Grant's trying to go by him, or if he's trying to block him. He's moving him down to the inside. It looks like he's squeezing him down to the apex. Contact is made, almost takes out the leader. I thought Grant was going to go straight. Look at this, because David's going to go throwing it in there deep because he needs to get through. And I think there may be a little bodywork damage to the left side of the 40, what we would call the cheese wedge, one of those pieces that's behind the rear wheel. And then Janko adds just a little more insult to the whole thing and loses more time on the racetrack. But yeah, not really what you want to see, certainly as the leader when you're coming through. And of course, Dominic Cicero, a great job to avoid all the problems, but that's dropped him several seconds farther back down the line. And
Yeah,
the
I mean,
40 looks to be okay. I thought there might be some damage there, Jeremy, but looks to be okay on the left side.
Yeah, I mean, Janko, he was making a move there. It was a legitimate pass down the inside of Lance Willsey, but he had a lot of real estate to his left going into that corner, and he certainly moved over it. It appeared to try and dissuade the race leader from making the move, and that's just not what you do as a car that's about to be lapped. You try and make things easy. Even if you're trying to pass somebody else yourself, there was no point in trying to make things difficult for the leader.
I thought Dominic Cicero got through that unscathed, but obviously he did not. He's got damage to the left front headlight and the bodywork there. So David Grant may be the one. I thought it was he that might have gotten the worst end of it as far as damage goes, but I'm not sure that that's the case.
I think you might be right, and that would make it even more egregious for Janko. There, I think has Janko got going again? Yes, he has got going again. He's one lap down to the field, as he still one lap down, but yeah, that was a look. Let's focus on the battle for a third position, which hopefully is going to be rather cleaner than that. And Dan Goldberg still maintaining that position ahead of Naveen Rao.
Well, and I think for a driver who's fighting for the lead and fighting for that championship, like we talked about, if you make a mistake and you damage the car, then shame on you, because you've put it in a place where you risk too much. But for Dominic Cicero that time, he was the innocent bystander, and I think that's what makes it more frustrating than anything, because it really has nothing to do with you. It's somebody else's mistake. It's somebody else's problem that then turns into yours. And I'm sure Dakota Dickerson sitting there on the pit box going, you've got to be kidding me.
Yeah, very frustrating for that MLT team to have that happen to him. I mean, he was completely the innocent victim there. Whether there's damage, I don't know, but certainly David Grant is now back to the same pace he was running before. 1 minute 20.59 last time around. That before he caught up with that traffic, that was the pace he was running. Dominic Cicero last time around lost a half a second to the race leader.
Oof. Yeah, and you certainly don't want to be doing that. It's one of those things where a half a second around this racetrack is hard to make up. It'll be interesting to see what kind of lap time Cicero can now turn with the damage to the left front, and hopefully it's only body work and nothing structural as far as the chassis or the suspension components go, because that would be heartbreaking. During the pit stop, they can put a new nose on if that's all it is, and if they don't even need to do that, if there's no ill handling effects, if the aerodynamics haven't been significantly affected, then they may not even need to do that. But if it were me, I would change it if I had the time. You're going down that back straightaway at 155 miles an hour, lap after lap. You never know when finally you're going to pack enough air in there for the final time, and that bodywork's gotten weakened, and then it comes off.
This is super to see the Normas and the Ligiers running competitively. Clearly there's not much to choose between these two cars on this racetrack, whereas most of the rest of the years, at least up until the last round at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, the Norma on whatever sort of circuit seemed to have a big advantage. Not the case right now.
Yeah, we haven't really seen that this year, and you talked about some of the balance of performance changes, aerodynamic changes that really seem to balance things a little bit. And of course, with every give, there's a take. You get to run a little less downforce for the Ligier chassis, but at the same point in time, that less downforce creates issues in certain areas of the racetracks. So it's one of those deals where you give a little and you lose a little. And where you want that downforce is a place like Mid-Ohio. You want to be able to get the car to run down the back straightaway, but at the same point in time, areas like this, you need the downforce to help in braking.
You do, and well, this is really an interesting race. And let's look at the lap times now. Rasmus Lind in third place. He's just turned the number 6 car's best lap of the race, a 1 minute 19.3. Meanwhile, much further down the order, unfortunately down in 13th position, 2 laps behind the race leader, Carl Kirkwood, has just set a new fastest lap of the race, a 1 minute 18.9. That's a new lap record. The record was set here last year by Neil Alberico, but Carl Kirkwood has crushed that lap record.
And I think Dakota Dickerson is a very quiet young man. He's polite, he's intelligent, he's articulate, and I think he's getting impatient, Jeremy, because he's going to get it done. Oh, I was just watching that as you were talking back through the back part of the course, 7, 8, and 9, and you could just see the angst. As I was saying, Dakota's a quiet young man, but you could just see the angst building there in the cockpit, and he was like, I need to go. And I need to go now. And you can see it coming.
Well, he really does, because I mean, Rasmus Lind is closing in at a rate of better than a second per lap in that number 6 car in the third position for Performance Tech Motorsports. So it's MLT Motorsports out in front with the Ligier. The 47 Motorsports Norma in second place, the Performance Tech Motorsports Ligier in third, and then the pair of K2R Motorsports Normas in fourth with Matt Bell, and the fifth, quite a long way back, and running completely on his own at the moment, is Stephen Thomas in car number 11. But not too far, and closing up on him is another battle between the Robillard Racing car number 10 of Stephen McAleer and the JDC entry, another Norma with Scott Andrews at the wheel.
Tony's Kazimets for Wolver Racing in the 60, and Kazimets always exciting to watch. And here's a look again, looking back to the carousel. Whoa, I said exciting to watch. That was, yeah, spin and win. Well, probably not the win today, but he did the Danny and got it around. So I said he was always exciting to watch, just getting in that car. And it's a deal where you look at Kazimets, and he's a driver who's driven just about everything. And he and Bruce Hamilton looking for some better finishes. They had some good runs last year, but really kind of struggling to get what they feel like they deserve. And those are runs there in the top 5, and they just have slipped out of their grasp this year.
Yeah. And Dakota Dickerson now, having got some clean air, having got past into the lead, he's just turned that number 54 car's best lap of the race, a 1 minute 19.9. And all of a sudden, he's put 3 seconds between himself and Keith Grant in second place. Meanwhile, Rasmus Lind, the gap back to third place, has gone over the last few laps. It was 21 seconds, then 19, then 17, then 16, then 14. It's now less than 10 seconds back to third place is Rasmus Lind.
Well, and this is exactly what Dakota Dickerson needs to see, and that is traffic for Rasmus Lind. But I don't think it's really holding him up that much. He's carving through it like a hot knife through butter. Now working through the carousel, and he gets a good run off of here. If he can probably clear the 86 by the time they get to turn 1. It's the fastest corner on the racetrack, so not a lot of braking here, but Rasmus Lind made that look easy.
He did, but it certainly cost him a bit of time. It cost him more than half a second, and Dakota Dickerson again set a new best lap for that number 54 car. It's not the fastest lap of the race, but it's only 3 or 4 tenths away from the best that has been set by Carl Kirkwood a little while ago, 1 minute 19.304. So maybe that damage to the front of the car has helped the aerodynamics of that Ligier car number 54.
Maybe. I always thought that those blunt front ends didn't look particularly aerodynamic anyway, right? And now they've made it even more blunt by taking the lens cover off that headlight, but seems to be working fine. The 64, Matt Bell, remember, he and his teammate Naveen Rao, they lead the championship. Now Bell caught in that traffic, trying to work his way through, and Rasmus Lind almost forced the issue there. And that's a difficult pass to make into turn 9 because the braking zone is so short. And I do think he was seen, and you saw the little hesitation by the car that he was going around, and that just gave him the run off the corner, able to make the pass heading into Thunder Valley. But a bold move, but We've come to expect that from Rasmus Lind, but that's what he has to do. He's got to try to close down 15.7 seconds the last time by at the line. He's got to try to close down on Dakota Dickerson. 34 minutes to go for Mid-Ohio.
Yeah, half an hour racing, more than half an hour racing. There's still plenty of time here to go, but what a good job Dakota Dickerson is doing here. He's got his super amount of confidence. He's from San Diego in California, 23 years of age. Seems to be he's been around the sport a long time, to be honest. He's driven all sorts of different cars. He was a Team USA scholarship winner 5 years ago now. That was in 2015. Since then, he's won the Formula 4 championship in 2018. Went on up the ladder to win the Formula 3 championship last year, in addition to his success here in the prototype challenge car. So there's Paul LaHaye, who's made a mistake and off the road again.
No, this is not what Dakota Dickerson needed. This is exactly the opposite of what he needed. That car is on the beach. China Beach is what they call it, and you can see how deep it is. It's also uphill to get out, and it's just not going to happen. Paul LaHaye down into 4, car a little twitch, then the brakes lock up, and he slides in, and he needs to get back into the throttle right now and keep driving to get through the sand. But in so doing, without traction control, Jeremy, I think he spins the rear tires a little much, and around he goes. And this is going to change everything.
Dickerson, Lint and Bell, first, third and fourth. Their best lap times in this race are within 1/10 of a second of each other. Keith Grant in the car number 40, the outlier there in second place, his best lap a full second slow. We're going to go, though, back to green with 27 minutes remaining.
All of those questions that we just asked, well, they're about to get answered. One of them got answered pretty quickly, and that is, from the get-go, Keith Grant under attack. Just behind him, Kyle Kirkwood, and here comes Rasmus Lind in the red and white number 6. And I think attached to his rear wing was the 11, I believe. So we've got a mix of lap cars in there. No, that's the 64. That's Matt Bell. This is for position. Matt Bell, driver's left. Rasmus Lind in the 6, driver's right. That's for position. And Bell gets the run off the keyhole, leads down to turn 4. He'll take the position.
Yeah, great job there by Matt Bell. He's got a huge amount of experience in these cars. Rasmus Lind, he's still learning. This is just his third race in these cars, so he's got an awful lot to learn. It's a very different car to drive than the open wheel cars he's driven so far in his career. A lot heavier, a lot more downforce than the single-seater car. So there's a lot to learn, and he was kind of taught a lesson there by Matt Bell. But Dakota Dickerson, he's pulling away at the front of the field, and the surprise for me, I think at the moment, is that Kyle Kirkwood hasn't tried to chase down the race leader. I think he's probably decided, Kirkwood, that he can probably do more good by protecting Keith Grant from behind rather than chasing down the leader of the race.
So Dickerson has pulled away. You can see up in the distance, off he has gone, and then the rest of the field, and as we said, kind of a mix of lapped cars in here, but very, very quick lap cars. And then at the end of that train was Matt Bell and Rasmus Lind. And remember last year, Jeremy, we saw the Ligier chassis on the restart really, really jump out in front of the Norma, and we talked about the Norma with the straight line advantage. But that's kind of been tamed, and I think that lack or the reduction of aerodynamics that's helped the Ligier top speed-wise, I think it's taken away that cold tire advantage on the restarts, because we haven't seen that this year, and I would expect to see it, of all places, on this racetrack, and it just didn't.
Certainly is pretty interesting, isn't it? As Paul LaHaye, that green car, hopefully getting out of the way of Dakota Dickerson. He's got back out on the racetrack. He's many laps. He's many laps down now. 6 laps down is number 86 car of Paul LaHaye, but he's staying out of trouble there. That's Kirkwood, though. He's got past Keith Grant, so he's obviously left Keith Grant to his own devices there, and we'll see if Keith Grant can keep that. No, he hasn't. Sorry. So who's the car in second place there? Sorry, I got a bit confused there. It's sort of ridiculous not being able to see the race cars.
There's another car out there, and I don't know if it was somebody that was in the pit lane that came out, but it seemed to be, it caught me out too on the last long shot from turn 1 up towards the keel. I was like, well, wait a minute, there seems to be another car in there that I hadn't figured.
Yeah, but certainly Dakota Dickerson, he's pulling away at the front of the field. We can see the shadows lengthening here at Mid-Ohio, as now that's number 74 car. That is, oh, okay, that was the other car that's in the middle there. That's Wyatt Schwab, also in this gaggle of cars. Well, that was the car that confused me. I wasn't sure who that was.
Matt Bell on the 64, just putting on a clinic around the outside there in turn 5, and now the 86 moves well out of the way and allowing the faster cars through. I'm sure they've been on the radio with Paul saying, hey, got a group of guys coming that are fighting for podium finishes.
And Wyatt Schwab in that number 74 car, he's also 2 laps down to the leaders. He's just really messed up the race for Keith Grant. Those two, there's 3 47 motorsports cars in this race, number 40, number 47, and this number 74. Carl Kirkwood was really doing a great job for Keith Grant as kind of the tail gunner there, but Wyatt Schwab has really messed things up, and he's cost Keith Grant a couple of positions.
Through the keyhole one more time, and it looks like perhaps Rasmus Lind has gone to school on Matt Bell a little bit. He's like, thank you for the lessons, and he is stuck to the rear wing down the back straightaway. What can he do down in turn 4? I don't know. I think the Norma may still have the legs, Jeremy.
Yeah, but certainly not by as much as it had earlier in the year. No question about that. They're a lot closer than they were. It certainly made a really good race of it, because the Ligier teams, they really did have their backs to the wall. But now they've certainly got a weapon with which they can fight for the win. And certainly Dakota Dickerson is doing precisely that at the moment, and he's stretching his lead. It's already out to over 8 seconds now, with 22 minutes remaining in this race. 22 minutes is going to feel like an hour and a half for Dakota Dickerson. But,
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, this is the time, isn't it, where, you know, we're probably not there yet. It's with like 2 laps to go that you hear every rattle and loose nut and vibration on the car that you never felt before. But yeah, for Dakota Dickerson, he's going to be saying, how much time's left? How much? Every time by, he's going to be thinking, well, I thought it would be less than that.
Yeah, well, there's lots of loose nuts out there in this racetrack out there right now.
9 seconds over Matt Bell, Dakota Dickerson has from Mid-Ohio. The last hour and 45-minute race on the 2020 calendar. One more race to go, but that is a 3-hour at Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta, and anything can happen in an hour and 45 minutes. Just imagine when you make it 3 hours, especially around a racetrack like Road Atlanta. And I think that's one of the cool things about the end of the season. As confusing as this year has been, and the pandemic obviously affecting everybody, but the scheduling of our sport, whether it's IMSA, whether it's the owners of the racetracks, everybody's worked so hard to make sure that the racers can race and the fans can see live motorsport. And I think that's been so great about it. And it's so cool to end with these racetracks that we're ending with in the second half of the season. Certainly Daytona is iconic at the beginning, so is Sebring, so is Road America, but we've got this string here at the end of VIR, Mid-Ohio, Road Atlanta, all old school kind of racetracks. And I think they're just great racetracks for these LMP3 based prototype challenge machines. this racetrack, we talked about it, it's a very, very technical racetrack. And there used to be a sign on the bridge across the racetrack at turn 1 that said most competitive in the U.S. I'm not sure if it's still there, but it's really true. It is so technical. Yes, it has elevation changes. A lot of racetracks do, but these are so strategically placed, and they're not necessarily huge elevation changes, but they're just in the right place, and the nuances of them and what they do to the car are really unique. You've got to have a good engineer. You've got to have a good race car. You have to have a good understanding of vehicle dynamics and what you need and where you need it. And you also, which race car drivers are not particularly good at, you also have to be willing to compromise a little bit here so that you can get the maximum out of the car in the places that are most important and be willing to sacrifice at a couple of other places. And that's why I think race car drivers love this track, because it has literally everything. You got to pull the belts down a little bit tight to get through turn 1, because you've got to be brave. And Paul LaHaye with a problem. That's coming down the hill.
I think that's the first time we've said that today, isn't it?
Yeah. So, but, you know, like I said, and then in other areas, the carousel and the keyhole, they're two very slow corners that are incredibly technical. Here's Paul. Up and over and around. Easy to do there with that elevation change. You get into a little too much throttle just when the car gets light, and around you go.
Well, you're right, Brian, and you talked about it a little while ago. This is a workout around this racetrack. I mean, it's very physical, and you know, to drive an hour and 40 minutes around here for somebody who's not a youngster, it's not easy to do. It's very easy to lose your concentration, make a little bit of a mistake, and Paul's had a few offs here, but he hasn't hit anything solid yet, so he's going to bring that car home to a finish. That's the goal. That's the plan. And he's actually just set his best sector time last time around in the middle sector on this racetrack. So hats off to Paul LaHaye.
Yeah, I mean, to do it solo here, there are 3 drivers that are doing just that: Thomas, Woolsey, and LaHaye. And it is a workout. I can't imagine it. I can tell you unequivocally, I couldn't do it. And it's one of those deals that you get out there, you get hot, you get tired, and you start to have the mental lapses. And as we were talking about the elevation changes and such and how technical it is, it'll bite you, and it'll bite you in a hurry. Headlights now reflecting off of the surface here as the sun beginning to set, and the drivers down the front straightaway, the sun in their eyes as they head to the west. And Dakota Dickerson would like to see the sun set on this day with him out in front. That would be the first victory on the year for Dakota Dickerson if he can hold on, and the first victory with his teammate Dominic Cicero. And you can see the sun in Dakota Dickerson's eyes down the front straightaway. Really cool shot there, illuminating the cockpit, illuminating those eyes in there, and surprising that he's not reaching up and kind of closing that visor down just a little bit for a little bit of respite from the sun. Look at this. Look at this. Stephen McAleer past LaHaye, and Andrews right there with him, Jeremy. This battle has not changed at all.
It has not, has it? And the battle for second place is about a second between those 2 cars now, but there certainly isn't a second between the 2 cars are battling for 4th and 5th. McAleer and Andrews absolutely locked together as they head through the keyhole. Now we're inside 4 minutes remaining, so we've got another 3 laps probably, depending where the leaders. It certainly won't be white flag next time, or probably the lap after either. So Andrews here looking to make a lunge down the inside at turn 4. Quite. Can he go around the outside at 5? That'd be a brave move.
If he can hold it, he'll have the line down into turn 6. He can't, and it was almost a mirror move of what Stephen McAleer had done to Keith Grant there in turn 4. Andrews just kind of wedged his way up along the side, the 10 there at the apex of 4, and tried to hold the outside. McAleer saying, I'm not having anything to do with that, and holds on to the position. But this is one of the toughest battles on the racetrack right now, and it is not over with just inside 3 minutes to go.
We are. Number 33 car has just dropped out of 10th position, has made another pit stop for Lance Willsey. Perhaps that's a splash of fuel that he needs to get to the end of this race. So that's going to put Carl Kirkwood up into the top 10, sharing that car with Joel Janko. And we're just 2.5 minutes remaining. So a couple of laps here should just about do it.
And right now, this is when we said it, Jeremy. This is when the noises start for the driver. 2 laps to go, and all of a sudden, everything's rattling, everything's shaking, and you're praying that you're going to make it to the finish. Some of these drivers, you talked about somebody for a splash of fuel. These cars that stopped early on, that could be an issue. This racetrack not particularly hard on fuel because there's not that much full throttle. There's a lot of just kind of point and go and then brake and point and go and brake back from turn 4 over through turn 9. But still, if you stop too soon, you might need to save it. 9.5 seconds is the last time at the line. 9.2 seconds for Dakota Dickerson over Matt Bell. And for Dakota, he may have to deal with those 3-lap cars in front of him here over the next 2 laps. That's not what he wants to see.
It's not what he wants, is he? You're absolutely right. But again, just metronomic consistency here for Dakota Dickerson. His last 2 laps within a 100th of a second of each other. And the laps before that just a 10th or so apart. Absolutely superb drive by Dakota Dickerson. And Matt Bell, though, hats off to him. He's doing exactly what that K2R team needs to bring that car home in second place. He'll lose just 3 points of his 9-point advantage to Dakota Dickerson if we stay as we are right now.
If we stay as we are right now, and that's a big if. You and I have done this long enough to know we're not handing anything to anyone just yet. We've seen them run out of fuel coming to the line and not get across. So Dakota Dickerson, a great job, but we're not going to fire up the music and open the champagne just yet. He still has 2.4 miles to go with just about 32 seconds left on the clock as he crosses the line. The white flag flies. He's got 9.2 seconds over Matt Bell the last time by, and this time will be 9.1, or actually 8.8. So it's closed down even more. I think the other competitors know well and good who the leader is, so they'll be kind here on this last lap to Dakota Dickerson. And Matt Bell running out of time. He's hoping there'll be a gaggle of cars up there to slow down Dickerson. But as you said, I think they'll be happy that the points loss was only 3, because at one point in time, it looked like it could be considerably more than that. And I think Matt Bell and Naveen Rao need to buy a beer for the 86 of Paul LaHaye, because that spin at the end of the straightaway that brought out the full course caution has helped them immensely.
Yeah, it certainly has. I mean, they were certainly closing on the second place car of Keith Grant, but that caution made it a lot easier. Whoops, that's a big lockup for Scott Andrews. He was obviously trying to make that pass.
Oh, no! It was everything he could do. Yeah. Everything he could do to try to make that pass. It did not work out. But what has worked out is this, the victory, the 4th different driver pairing to win in 2020. Dominic Cicero, Dakota Dickerson take the win at Mid-Ohio and close in on the championship lead of Matt Bell and Naveen Rao. Good race, and that full course caution, Jeremy, really, really closed things down. But for Scott Andrews, he was going to send it and see what happened. That was down at the end of the back straightaway. Here's a look. He was way back.
Yeah, he certainly wasn't close enough to try and think about a pass, was he?
You can see just how well the gravel traps work as he slides into it. And that's a shame, because he had that good run going, that good battle with McAleer, and that was going to give him a top 5 finish, but that is not to be. I think he got in there and got the fronts locked and just couldn't get them unlocked in time to save it and make the corner. And really, for Stephen McAleer, he's fortunate that Thomas was able to get the car turned a little bit and avoid the contact that could easily have happened there, or Andrews, I should say.
Welcome back, where the 5th round of the IMSA Prototype Challenge is in the books. Brian Till and Jeremy Shaw take us through the unofficial results.
Matt Bell, good finish for he and Naveen Rao. We said that keeps the championship close. Another great run by Rasmus Lin. Stephen McAleer, then the Grants round out the top 5.
Yeah, and Stephen Thomas in the 6th position. A great solo run by Stephen Thomas, his best results so far. So in the championship points now, Naveen Rao and Matt Bell unofficially have 155 points now to the 149 of Dakota Dickerson. So what was a 9-point deficit is now a 6-point deficit. In 3rd place will remain Joel Janko, but only just over Dan Goldberg, who will move up into 4th in the points, just ahead by 2 points over the Grant brothers.
It's been a long year, that's for sure. It feels awesome. We've been so close this year. The MLT Motorsports guys have given us a fantastic car all year, and it feels great to finally reward them with a win, especially because we won here last year as well. It's a home track for some of our team members, so feels great. Can't thank Ligier enough. This is a fantastic track for their car. Really excited to go to Road Atlanta now.
I feel like we got great momentum. This is the little tipping point I think we needed for the season. You know, we are so close, as Dakota said. MLT guys put us up there every time. The strategy things were perfect, just racing. So we're looking forward to Petit.
The next round for the IMSA Prototype Challenge will be in a few weeks when the series wraps up their season at the WeatherTech Sports Car Championship weekend, the Motul Petit Le Mans from Michelin Raceway Road Atlanta. We'll see you then, and thanks for watching. Don't forget, NBC is your home for motorsport and the exclusive network for all IMSA sports car racing.
This copyrighted telecast may not be reproduced, retransmitted, or used in any form without the authorized written consent of the International Motorsports Association. We would like to thank all of our loyal fans for your continued support, and we hope you enjoyed today's broadcast.